So this video is sponsored by Pionex, one of the exchanges I use all the time. It's one of the main crypto brokers to Binance, so the volume is very high. The main thing that sets them apart though is that you can use free trading bots, a variety all designed to benefit from different market behaviors, whether that's up, down or sideways. You'll get 20% off all your trading fees for life with my link in the description. And if you join the Telegram, a lot of us already use it, so if you've got questions we can try and help you out. Hello everybody, welcome back. I'll try and run through this as quick as possible, but there's a fair bit of information, so I suggest you do stick through it. I'll try to keep it under 10 minutes. So we're on Bitcoin here on the 4-hourly chart. We'll just quickly move it to the daily to give a bit of overall perspective. So the downtrend, relatively aggressive, breaking down below all major moving averages, to which we're below all of them at the moment. We had this area, this box in here as the buy zone, and it had a decent reaction here when we nuked right into it, okay, right down to the bottom. So we took some longs, the royal we being me, took some longs around this position for altcoins, because altcoins are the ones that are getting decent bounces, and I closed them yesterday because, to be honest with you, the bounce was relatively anemic, and if we move it down to the 4-hourly we can see what I'm talking about. The bounce, basically, it was okay. Rejections on the 10 exponential here, basically every single 4-hourly candle had a test of it apart from this one. So yeah, the more times you touch a support, it's more likely to break down below it. I know that we've touched the resistance probably more times than the support, but this isn't really a main resistance, it's a moving average basically, and what it's doing is it's creating a triangle formation, if you can understand what I'm talking about here. Support here, descending moving average here. Essentially we're going to move into an apex over the next probably 24 to 36 hours, and it's going to break one way or another, whether it's up or down. Now this is a 4-hourly chart, so we can't expect a full-on reversal if we were to break up, and if we were to break down, it's just going to be completely in keeping with the downtrend that we're in at the moment. Emphasized by a death cross here and a short signal on the Ichimoku cloud. You know me, I like the Ichi cloud, it's a very good indicator. This short signal was generated on a 4-hourly, and the price would have been 54,350, thereabouts, where that candle body opened. That's where that signal would have been generated, and that signal right now is technically in profit. So all those shorts who decided to take that position based upon that signal are technically in profit. Only a tiny little smidgen at the moment, but still they are in profit. So have a look at the indicators down here. So yeah, there's no reason to be bullish on any of this that we're seeing here. It's basically, there's no divergence or anything like that. The MACD obviously has diverged to an extent, but it's not cross bullish, and it's way into the negative below the 0 point there. So not a bullish looking chart, I have to say, and an anemic bounce from this level. Now I'm not saying that we can't bounce from here. We have found support on the bottom level of this buy zone here, and this corresponds to the price action down here. This is how we got it basically. A lot of price bouncing around here, and this is basically why we've got this box. It corresponds to the tops and the bottoms and the major supports and resistances of the most recent rally that took place. So it's not the strongest level, but it's obviously a level of relevance, otherwise we wouldn't have found support around here in the first place. So the Bitcoin price action is one thing, but traditional markets, if you pay attention, and it doesn't matter if you don't pay attention, but if you did, you will have noticed on Friday there was a fair old sell-off going on there, probably based around the old flu virus that's coming out at the moment. So the whatever it's called, I don't know, the Megatron, or what they want to call it. So am I, I'm not saying if it's something you choose to believe or not. The fact is, it's been reported in mainstream media. If people pay attention to it, it'll have ramifications, and it appears to have already stoked a sell-off, and we can see that if we look at the Dixie. The Dixie, again, another thing that we've been looking at for months now, for quite a long time. This is a weekly chart, and on this channel, not that I'm boasting, I have been saying that the Dixie, the dollar, is bullish. We should expect it to continue, and we'll see where we get rejected from, and that rejection should be good overall. Now, yeah, we're getting a rejection here. It's no big deal, because I can't get bearish on it until we break down into this area, back into this box over here. This is where I get bearish on it. So there's a long way to go before we can be bearish on the dollar, and this runs counter to all the moon boys out there that think that the dollar is dead, and calling for, hyperinflation and death to the dollar, and how Bitcoin will redeem everybody from the madness that will ensue. Look, it's a chart. The chart says it's going up. It's a strong chart. A golden cross back down here. We had buy signals all over the place, and the trend has continued and continued and continued. And if you get sell-offs in traditional markets, whether that's commodities, stocks, or whatever, you're going to get increase in dollar value anyway. So it's basically becoming almost like a like a vicious circle. The higher the dollar goes, the better of an asset it is to hold on to. The lower stocks likely will go, or they will become underperformers generally. And so yeah, you wait it out, don't you? You wait it out. And especially if there's a looming threat of some kind of lockdown like there was back in March, then yeah, we will see. I mean, this is what happened when the March crash happened. Bang, bang, and then massive collapse. But the dollar went on to make a new all-time high. Essentially, it's not a new all-time high, but relatively high in relation to the chart. So basically, this is people going into cash positions and then people coming out of cash positions into everything, because everything rallied like a mofo. Do you know what I mean? Everyone absolutely bonkers. This is the beauty of looking at the Dixie. It's not the magic that everybody thinks it is, but it's worth recognizing. And it's also, like I say, no, I'm not saying that the dollar isn't going to die. If we look at the monthly, we can see that it's a bearish chart: high, low, lower high, lower low, lower high. So over time, we're talking months, years, then yeah, of course, it will continue to go down based upon what we look at this chart. But for the moment, it looks relatively strong. We would be looking for probably new highs on this one over time anyway. And I said, I've been saying for a while, next year does look good for the dollar, which obviously does look bad for anything pegged against the dollar, largely speaking. Largely, like I say, it's not a secret sauce here, but it's worth recognising. So what I'm saying is, coming into next week, we've got a strong dollar, even stronger every other day, really. We've got a looming threat of some new flu that's coming out, basically, that could have ramifications worldwide, which could and probably will have some kind of economic influence, to the down. To be honest with you, we can already see that's become the case with the dollar having that big pump and up to basically pre-pandemic levels, really, which is basically these zones over here. This is pre-pandemic levels are all around here. This is the support currently acting as resistance. But if we break out from here, then yeah, we are going to go higher and higher and higher. I mean, the dollar is a strong chart and remains strong, and there's nothing to dispute the fact that with a chart that looks like this, that it can't break the resistance and continue on. The reason I'm talking about this is because it leads into everything. So whether you believe in this new Megatron that's come out or not, it doesn't. If you're into conspiracies, or if you're into mainstream media, or whatever it is, or if you're just into thinking for yourself, which is the main thing. The markets will react to whatever the mainstream media refer to, because of course there's corruption all over the place and there's misinformation everywhere, but the general narrative is the one that comes through the mainstream, and the mainstream seem to be relatively cautious about whatever this Megatron is, right? So I would expect a reaction in the markets, but would I expect something as devastating as what happened in March? Probably not. No. Let's think about it on a fundamental level. The world is a little bit more prepared for this time round. You might see sell-offs because there are going to be economic implications to lockdowns and other measures that go forward, but it's not going to be in the same dramatic fashion as back in March, where it was all brand new and we didn't have a clue about what the hell was going on. But what I am saying is that it wouldn't surprise me if we do have a further sell-off in stocks, and that would correspond to our best friend Bitcoin, who's already downtrending, and so we have to mark off essentially new areas of significance, not just for Bitcoin, but for all our favourite altcoins. So the Fear and Greed Index, like I say, is 2021 or something like that. So the next obvious area was going to be down here at the 200 exponential. There's no reason to suggest that can't be tagged, and that's only 8.5% from where we're at right now, bringing us to a nice round number of about 50,000, we'll call it. I know it's just below. If we do a trend line up like this from our previous low to these lows that were tagged here, that also brings us up to roughly around those levels. And if we think about what that would look like on a horizontal trend line, there are kind of areas of significance around the 50 as well. It's not perfect, but there's kind of areas. And also, if you think about what we're talking about, $50,000 is a psychological number, and we're very simple beings. We're one step up from our primate ancestors. We've got 10 fingers. We like to count on them, and so we think about things in round numbers. 50,000. that's where my buy order will be. Everybody's going to have a buy order in at 50,000, but not only just 50,000. If you think about it, we've got 200 exponential, we've got a vertical trend line of support, we've got a horizontal trend line of support, and it's a nice round number for us primates to get our head around. So yeah, further downside is not unlikely, and if it is, then that would be our first area that we can mark off. Obviously, wicks below that can easily happen. Closures above it still okay, in keeping with what I would say an overall long-term bullish chart. Let's bring it down to bring it up, I suppose, to a weekly. What's around the weekly? And we've got our centre of the Bollinger Band coming in at just around 50,000 as well. The 20 weekly, for those who like the moving averages, and being above a 20 weekly is always a good place to be. We've had nice reactions from there when we had this pump and a dump down into it, 2 weeks in a row, bounce from it, and up we go. So look, further downside is not unlikely, let's put it like that. And the chart suggests downside on the 4-hourly short signals, pretty much at the area we're at right now. Fundamentally, stocks, commodities having a hard time as a result of all these other things that this Megatron that's come out in there. I know it's not called Megatron, I'm just doing it for a laugh. That's out in the media, right? And the uncertainty of what that might cause economically. So there's that. So we've got a downtrend. We've got short signals on the short-term timeframes. We've got things coming out in the media which could emphasize any kind of pullback or initiate pullbacks in the first place. And then we've got nice strong supports, all bringing us to a rough area of around about between 49 and 50,000. So it's not the end of the world, guys, but don't say I didn't warn you. There is a very strong chance that we do break this area and come down by another 8 or 9%. And again, we'll have to reassess the situation and the damage when we get there, and see what kind of reaction we get while we are there, and also assess the situation in traditional markets, the dollar, and the mainstream media. Whether you believe it or not, the mainstream media, the ones that are going to help carry this forward or backwards, whichever way you want to look at it, and that's where you want to be paying your attention to. All right, like I say, whether you believe it or not, it doesn't really matter. That's the narrative. The narrative will drive the market. So there you go. So if we think about altcoins, I've just got a little selection here. Like I say, we looked on the live stream last night. There's a lot of areas that have been marked off on all the altcoins we looked at last night, as we are kind of, I suppose, warming to the idea of this coming down further. So we've already sort of marked off an area which is about 8 or 9% for Bitcoin to come down to. Altcoins often emphasize those downs, but there is opportunity in altcoins big time, and so we'll look at some other altcoins just very briefly of what this might look like. Like I say, we all know that altcoins emphasize Bitcoin's downtrend. So if we get a pullback of 8% for Bitcoin, this is what Matic would look like. Down to the 200 exponential, it's just over double the amount that you would see for Matic, down to the 200 exponential. We've also actually had decent reactions from the 200 simple moving average, which I will just mark off down here. That is a 11%. So this area here between these two moving averages easily get tagged, and like I say, that's a slight emphasis on this one, and probably an overstated emphasis on this one here for Matic. And like I say, that would still be in keeping with a bullish trend. Being above the 200 exponential is fine. We've seen buying, we've had good reactions. We've had good reactions from these levels, and if Bitcoin, which dictates the market, pulls back further, like I say, by 8 or 9%, then yeah, expect something like Matic to come down a little bit more and still be in keeping with the overall uptrend. So Matic, that's what we're looking at. Like I say, I'm not really looking to trade these things. I'm just giving you an idea. Litecoin basically a failed signal now that we spotted a couple of weeks ago. Conversion baseline crossed over here. That was great. That led to this big move up. Then the market, said no, thank you, Litecoin. You'll have to come back later. And now that's been cancelled out here with the Chiku span in the price action and the negative cross. So Litecoin is done. So we were looking at this. Where could this possibly come down to? So if you've got your bullish hat on, you come down to this previous horizontal level, which is about $169, $170. That's a 10% sort of pullback. And that's, like I say, that's just a little bit more than Bitcoin. Like I say, these aren't to be marked off particularly, but I'm just saying, expect further downside for altcoins. Again, with Litecoin, there's no particular major signal on this one at this point in time. Not like what we had over here, which led to that. This time, there's really not anything going in. If we break down to this level, then it might just mean a period of accumulation. However, people could obviously just buy into it because it's gone lower. and want a little piece of it. But the signal is over for that one. VRA, and again, I'm not suggesting that this is going to happen, but it could. So our first and our first major pullback of any significance could take us down to the 200 exponential down here. It's quite a long way, I have to say. It is a very long way. Alternatively, we could mark off previous peaks. That is our peak over here. We've got also peaks over here. So all of these areas are significant and worth bearing in mind. End of the day, the reason I'm talking about altcoins and I've chosen these more or less at random is because they are, well, like I said, we've got top cap, we've got sort of I suppose medium cap and a lower medium cap, even though VRA is a bit of a monster these days. We are expecting further downside across the board for everything. It might not happen. Like I say, we are still within the buy zone here for Bitcoin, so it could just turn around today. There's no reason to deny that is a possibility. We had this buy zone area in here. It's held so far 3 days in a row. It could continue to hold and then just turn up, and everything will be a-okay. It'll be fine. But it would be stupid for you to not have a plan B, C, D, and think about where you would go and what you would do if it comes down further. Like I say, we all want it to go straight back up, but it would be stupid if you don't back both sides, because that's the idea, isn't it? That's trading for you. You can't just have a bias and only think about one way. Well, especially when we're going down and we're looking down the barrel of an economic gun. It's all worth thinking about. And if you don't think about it, then you'll be the one that's flapping around talking about how the market is a scam and this, that, and the other. So, I mean, if you can plan for both sides of the coin, that's what makes you a trader. So if you can't do that, you're probably not a trader. And there's nothing wrong with that. Not many people can do it. It's not for everybody. There's nothing wrong with simply just buying and holding and investing. The HODL strategy is proven to be pretty good strategy. Even if you bought the top in 2018, your HODL strategy is still a very decent strategy. You can see that I bought the top and I had to sail it all the way down. Oh, finally, profit. It's a very forgiving asset class, I have to say. Bitcoin specifically, maybe not altcoins, as a generalization, but Bitcoin specifically, pretty forgiving asset class. And like Michael Saylor is, I'm not a big Michael Saylor fanboy, but he did say something that I really like, which is that the best time to buy Bitcoin is always 5 years ago, and you should take that to the bank. That's a good way to think about it, right? That's an investment strategy. That's a HODL strategy. So buying Bitcoin today, maybe not the best thing to do. Buying Bitcoin last week or the week before, probably not the greatest thing to do. But all of these entry points should be rewarded 5 years from now. I know that sounds pretty disheartening to anyone who did buy the top. I know Matt Damon basically asked everybody to do it, but just think about that phrase. It is true. I believe that to be true. The best time to buy Bitcoin is always 5 years ago. So just remember that, right? In times of hardship, all right? Either way, though, this chart in the short term is not bullish. Although we may be at a support right now, I need to see what takes place next week. Obviously, with everything that I've spoken about, not just the chart. The chart, again, like I say, has shorter signals on it, and it's not a particularly good setup on the 4L, I have to say. It's a good setup for a short, I would say, but I'm not suggesting you go off and do that kind of stuff. Shorting in a bull market is never a great idea. My preference would be to short in a bear market, which I don't think we're in. We can't entertain this chart right now as a bearish chart on the long term. It's just not possible to do that. There's no real signals on this either to suggest that this is a bear market. This is just basically a consolidation from this high that could easily come down lower, which is why I made the video, to mark these areas off so it doesn't scare you if and when it happens. Anyway, I'm going to leave it with you there, but there's nothing, like I say, there's nothing to get in a massive panic about. Like I say, next week we could easily see a day where Bitcoin dumps down into these levels, maybe even wicks down even lower, and altcoins obviously get annihilated and demolished. But every time we do that, there's a very strong chance that that is the bottom. And it's an opportunity worth trying to take advantage of. That's why we map them out prior to the move taking place. Anyway, I'm going to leave it with you there, but thank you for watching. I hope you have a nice day, and take it easy.